Hindi ko po malaman kung paano ninyo nagawa ito. Wala po akong makita rito. Pinipilit naman ninyo na meron. Napakarami po ng inconsistencies dito. Ito yung escape route ninyo eh.
I got your point, Mr. Chair.
Jem Garma, when you were asked by Congressman Arroyo whether or not you believe that the STL is operated legally or something to that effect, you said you believe so. Is
Yes,
that
Mr.
answer correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And when he asked you further why you believe so, you claim that because the 2020 RIRR was reviewed and allegedly approved by the OJCC. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. What if the conclusion of the OJCC was disproved, meaning it was found out to be wrong? Will you stop the operations of the STL?
Of course, we will respect the rule of law, Mr. Chair.
Yun nga.
Yes.
And you believe that the opinion of the OGCC is correct as we speak.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Why do you believe so?
They are our corporate counsel, Mr. Chair, and all decisions, especially when it pertains to legal, we referred for further opinion po sa kanila.
Did you ask other opinions aside from your own counsel? Maaring magkamali yung counsel mo. Tao lang naman yun eh. Lahat naman ng tao nagkakamali. Tama.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Did you ask other opinions? It's a second opinion?
Our second opinion is the OGCC, Mr. Chair, because we have the legal department to do the research.
Hindi pa rin siya ng legal department mo. Nung tinanong ko siya, di ba? Kung the Pcso is empowered to engage an agent, di ba sinagot niya ako na, well, Your Honor, because we can always resort to the corporation law. Di ba? And you referred this representation to Section 1 of your former charter as amended by BP o by Batas Pambansa 42. Tama? Tama, ma'am?
Those are numbers,
You can
Mr.
cover
Chair.
your
I'm
face
not
if
a
you
lawyer,
want to.
but
Okay. Ang diferensya, Madam GM, kung titingnan mo yung Corporation Code, yung Section 13 na sinasabi ng charter ninyo, did you consider reviewing Section 13 of the Corporation Law? Kung ano lamang ang sinasabing ahente doon?
when we crafted the IRR, Mr. Chair, we also considered all related laws, Mr. Chair.
When you say crafted, alam mo, sa totoo lang, the operation of the STL will fall and rise on one section only of your IRR. And I will tell you, dito kasi magkakatalo eh. Section 4, implementation. The STL shall be implemented as a mass-based local lottery of the national government. The Pcso shall be allowed to engage authorized agent corporations or AAC to accomplish the objectives of this IRR. Let me stop there. If it is true that your charter granted you the power to engage AACs, ba't hindi mo sinabi rito that is based on your charter? Bakit na sinabi niyo rito in order to accomplish the objectives of this IRR? What you did is to refer to an IRR, but you did not refer to your charter. Because your charter did not expressly tell you that you can engage an agent. So ang ginawa ninyo, you resorted to illegal ruse, a smoke screen. Kasi hindi na po pwedeng gawin mo ito kung meron naman sa charter. Dapat ang ginawa mo, in order to accomplish the provisions of this charter. But considering the charter is silent on this, ang ginawa ninyo, you pointed out the IRR, hoping that you will be able to give justice to the engagement of the STLs. No, you are not the lawyer. Where is the lawyer? Are you sitting beside the lawyer? Can you comment on this?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Article, is that, article.
What I'm saying is, you were able to engage STLs in lotteries, not because of your charter, but the Section 4 made reference to the accomplishment of this objective through the IRR. Did you notice that? Mr. Chair, yung IRR kasi, wala namang pinagbasihan mula doon sa charter. Dahil wala silang makitang basihan doon sa charter nila, be it RA 1161, 69, or Batas Pambansa 42, ang ginawa nila, Mr. Chair, gumawa sila ng IRR at doon nila ngayon isasaksak yung justification. Ulitin ko sa iyo, the Pcso shall be allowed to engage authorized agent corporations to accomplish the objectives of the IRR. So who allowed you to engage STLs? The IRR didn't, isn't it? Not your charter. Okay, and then ang sabi mo sa akin, because indirectly you were allowed by the corporation law to engage an agent. Ang pagkakasabi mo, ahente nga. Ang hindi mo na or you wanted to comment first? Bakit kinakailangan ninyong maglagay ng provision na ang engagement ng STL is to accomplish the IRR? Why? Because wala nga sa charter ninyo eh. What is your answer? Teka muna, tawagin na lang natin yung OGCC. Is the legal OGCC still there, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Good afternoon po, Attorney Vega of OGCC.
Good afternoon, sir.
I had a hard time getting answers from your legal present in our meeting, including the GM of Pcso. So I'm sorry I have to revert back to you because you might be able to help us process an issue which is supposed to be the subject matter of this hearing. Did you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
I told the general manager and the legal officer beside her that the issue of the 2020 IRRR of the STL will rise and fall in one single section, which is Section 4. It says here the PCSO shall be allowed to engage authorized agent corporations or AAC to accomplish the objectives of this IRR. Mr. OGCC, it is very obvious here that the engagement of the STL in lotteries is to accomplish the objectives of the IRR, not the main charter of the PCSO. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And so it has no basis at all because the charter RA 1169 and the amending law, which is Batas Pambansa 42, did not mention expressly that PCSO can engage agents of STL. The IRR therefore is ultra vires. It is not a legal delegation.
Mr. Chair, to answer the query, the PCSO is also authorized to perform the following activities: to hold and conduct charity sweepstakes, races, lotteries,
We
and
know that
others.
already, Mr. OGCC. Do not preach to the choir. We know that perfectly. As a matter of fact, in the conclusion of your position paper submitted to us, on the second paragraph, you made mention about this. Since PCSO has been granted specifically by Congress the exclusive authority to operate lotteries. I will stop there. You yourself, Mr. OGCC, admitted that Congress specifically granted PCSO the exclusive authority to operate lotteries. What do you mean by the term exclusive? Can
Only
it be further delegated?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it cannot be delegated, and only PCSO can operate the particular lottery.
Yes, so that is why it is illegal for PCSO to have engaged STL, considering that you are already admitting that it is only PCSO which has the right, because it has been granted exclusive authority to operate those lotteries. And so this Section 4 is inconsistent with the charter. Kaya nga po ang ginawa nila rito, pinalalabas nila to accomplish the objectives of the IRR, but not the law itself. Mr. or Attorney Vega, with all due respect, I think the 2020 RIR is a remarkable piece of legal mambo-jumbo. It's a subterfuge. It's a legal ruse. I don't think you can argue on the basis that even the corporation law can be resorted to here, because this is not an ordinary agency. The STL is not an ordinary agent. For example, I can point out to you, sabi ninyo dito, in Section 14, subparagraph B of this IRRR, in no case shall the AAC conduct an actual STL draw without the ATO. So if PCSO grants the ATO, therefore the STL can conduct the draw itself. That is the plain conclusion. So you are delegating the very authority that was granted to you exclusively by Congress. You will need another law. Attorney Vega.
Mr. Chair, The provision also in the IRR states that all STL draws shall be conducted only by the PCSO authorized personnel in such manner, frequency, and time as may be determined and approved in the PCSO and in accordance with this RIR. In addition, Mr. Chair, the STL draws shall be witnessed and certified by a panel of witnesses composed of a chairperson and two members and/or COA representative. So that is still under the control of PCSO, Mr. Chair, and it's not being delegated.
Mr. Chair, I don't think Attorney Vega understood the point. Pwede po bang, can you refer to Section 4 of the IRR?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Can you read the second sentence there? The PCSO shall be allowed to engage authorized agent corporations or AAC to accomplish the objectives of this IRR. So the PCSO, Attorney Vega, is now being allowed to engage AACs not by its own charter, but by its IRR. Di ba ganun?
The authority given by PCSO, Mr. Chair, is just to collect and to sell. And that is their authority, Mr. Chair. And not
Attorney
to
Vega,
operate.
kaya nga pinabasa ko na sa iyo eh. I'm not talking about the authority here. I'm talking about which allowed PCSO to engage AACs. Is it their charter or the IRR?
It is their charter also, Mr. Chair.
Where in the charter? Can you tell me that PCSO was allowed to engage AACs?
As I have read earlier, Mr. Chair, to hold and conduct charity sweepstakes, lotteries, and other similar activities in such frequency and manner as shall be determined and subject to such rules and regulation as shall be promulgated by the Board of Directors.
So, saan po sinasabi rin yun na pwede siya mag-engage ng STL? Ang sinasabi po ron, Attorney Vega, is the manner and frequency by which these lotteries can be operated. Wala pong sinasabi roon authority for the PCSO to engage the services of the AACs. Walang sinasabi pong ganon. Kaya nga ang nangyari rito, pinalabas ninyo na meron, pero sa IRR na po ninyo ina-accomplish. Parang ang nangyari rito, dahil hindi nyo makita doon sa mismong charter po ninyo, gumamit kayo ng sinasabi nating smoke screen. Ito po sinasabi ko kanina sa inyo, na subterfuge. I'm sorry, no, with all due respect, Attorney Vega, kanina po tinatanong kayo ni Congressman Barsaga kung meron kayong kakilala pa na o alam na ibang GOCC na kagaya ng PCSO na binigyan nyo ng karapatan na makapag-engage ng AACs. Ang sabi po ninyo, wala, hindi ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Bakit po yung mga munisipyo natin ngayon na nakipag-joint venture sa mga private water companies? Hindi ba municipal corporations din po yan? Corporations din mga munisipyo, hindi po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Kayo rin po yung abogado ng mga munisipyo. Tama po ba yun?
No, Mr. Chair.
Hindi po kayo ang abogado ng mga LGUs?
No, Mr. Chair.
Eh, sino po ang nag-review ng kanilang joint venture at saka yung mga private companies na nag-ooperate ng tubig?
You must be referring, sir, to the water districts. Yes, we do review the joint ventures of water districts, sir.
Okay. So sa mga tweet, meron ding GOCC na nakikipag-coordinate sa ibang mga private water companies. Bakit kanina po ang sabi ninyo, wala kayong alam?
I said, sir, not in this manner.
In what manner?
In this kind of manner where the Pcso authorizes the agent to sell and to collect bets.
Dahil nga ito lamang ang nakikita nating isang halimbawa na nagawan ng paraan sa pamamagitan ng IRR, pinalabas ninyo na po pwede silang mag-engage ng ahente sapagkat yung charter mismo wala pong sinasabi. Kaya maliwanag po na ito lamang po ang talagang nakalusot. Hindi ko po malaman kung paano ninyo nagawa ito at ito ngayon ang nire-review nga ng committee ito, Attorney Vega. Kaya nga kung papansinin po ninyo, ito lamang pong section na ito ang pagtatalunan natin. Naniniwala po kasi kami na itong IRR is not a valid delegation of power sapagkat wala pong pinagmulan kahit ano, kahit na po sabihin ninyo yung section 1 po ng charter ng Pcso, hindi po sinasabi na pwede silang kumuha o mag-engage ng AACs. Kasi ang nakalagay po rito talaga, to hold and conduct charity sweepstakes and lotteries. Sila rin po ang sinasabi at hindi rin sinasabi rito na po pwede silang kumuha o mag-engage ng AACs. Tama po ba, Attorney?
Yes, Mr. Chair, not specific. There is no specific provision, but indeed, the PCSO can authorize these ACCs to collect and to sell.
Nasaan nga po yun?
It is based on Section 1, Mr. Chair, when it is promulgated by the Board of Directors by virtue of their rulemaking power.
Hindi po tayo magkakaintindihan, Attorney, kasi Section 1 nga po ang pinag-uusapan natin eh. Wala po akong makita rito, pinipilit naman ninyo na meron. Alin po ang paniniwalaan natin? Itong binabasa natin o yung binabasa ninyo? Asan po rito na makakapag-engage sila ng AACs?
This particular provision was stated in the case of Morato versus Aquilos Bayan versus Morato, Your Honors. When parsed, it will be seen that the Section 1 grants the PCSO authority to do any of the following. 1, to hold and conduct charity sweepstakes, races, lotteries, and similar activities. 2, to invest whether by itself or in collaboration, association, or joint venture with any person, association, company, or entity in any health and well-related investments, programs, projects, and activities which may be profit-oriented.
Ano po ang basis ninyo yung paragraph A or paragraph B ng section 1 ng charter ng PCSO?
Paragraph A and B, Your Honors.
Paragraph A po, ang sinasabi rito, ang PCSO shall have the authority to hold and conduct charity sweepstakes and lotteries. Yung paragraph B, hindi po siya pinapayagan in collaboration or association or joint venture with any person, association, company, or entity, whether domestic or foreign. Di po ba? For the purpose of provide, except, sabi niya ganun eh. Yung exception po, nasa paragraph A. Ibig sabihin, hindi po siya makakapaggamit ng collaboration, association, or joint venture kung ang pag-uusapan ay ang pag-conduct, pag-hold, and conduct charity, races, and lotteries. Napakaliwanag naman po ito eh.
Only, Mr. Chair, what is prohibited is investing in the same kind of activities.
Tama, hindi nga siya pwedeng mag-invest doon. Sabagat kakalabanan niya yung sarili niya. Kasi nga, siya lang ang po pwedeng mag-hold and conduct charity, sweepstakes, and lotteries. Napakasimple naman po nun. Kaya kung babalik po tayo rito sa section 4, wag na nating patagalin ito, kumukuha siya ng buhay dito, hindi sa kanyang charter, kung hindi sa IRR. Sapagkat kung totoong nasa charter, hindi nyo na sana sinama yung IRR. Dapat sinasabi nyo na lang dito, the PCSO shall be allowed to engage authorized agent corporations or AACs to accomplish the objectives of this charter. Dapat ganun ang nilagay nyo eh. Pero ang ginawa ninyo, nag-segue kayo to accomplish the objectives of this IRIR. RIRR. Ba't hindi pa ninyo diniretso, Atty. Vega?
This was crafted by the PCSO, Mr. Chair, and we only reviewed it and we found it to be feasible and within the bounds of law. And it was also approved by the Office of the
Atty.
President.
Vega, did you not point out to them that before you were able to, let's say, conclude that the IRR is legal or feasible, dapat pinabura mo na yung nakalagay na objectives of the IRR. Dapat sinabi nyo na lang to accomplish the objectives of the PCSO charter. Eh kasi wala nga po sa charter, kaya pinilit ninyo, mag-segue kayo do sa RIRR. Napakarami po ng inconsistencies dito, Atty. Vega. With all due respect, I don't think you can defend this kung ang pag-uusapan is the validity of this power na pag-engage ninyo ng PCSO STLs. Sabagat even the corporation code ay sinasabi Jem Garma, last time you made reference to Republic Act 1459. When I ask you whether or not PCSO can engage an agent, and your lawyer pointed out to you that even the corporation law can be resorted to because in section 1 of your previous charter as well as Batas Pambansa 42 also made reference to the corporation law, particularly section 13, hindi ba? Basahin nyo yung section 1 ninyo. Either 1169 or Batas Pambansa number 42.
May I request our legal to answer the question, Mr. Chair?
RA 1169 as amended. Section 1, the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office. The Philippine
Pwede po
Charity
niyong ilakas ng konti kasi
The Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office, hereinafter designated the office, shall be the principal government agency for raising and providing for funds for health programs, medical assistance and services, and charities of national character, and as such shall have the general powers conferred in Section 13 of Act numbered 1459 as amended, and shall have the authority as follows. A, to hold and conduct charity sweepstakes, races, lotteries, and other similar activities. In such
hindi na yun lamang para makita natin, you made reference to Republic Act 1459. Ito yung escape route ninyo eh. Ito yung sinasabi ninyo. That is why even the Office of the Government Corporate Council made mention about the corporation law. Kasi nga, expressly, walang nakalagay kung pwede kayong mag-engage ng agents. Kung papansinin mo yung Section 13, kahit na gamitin pa natin yon, under paragraph 6, ang sinasabi lamang doon, to appoint and dismiss such subordinate officers or agents as the business or welfare of the corporation may demand, and to allow such immediate officers and agents suitable compensation. Alam mo yung sinasabi rito, yung agents are subordinate officers. Itong STL ninyo, yung AACs, they are not subordinate officers. They are independent corporations registered with the SEC. So from the point of view of the Corporation Code, they are not ordinary agents as contemplated and within the meaning of this law. You cannot even use paragraph 9 kasi sinasabi dito to enter into obligation or contract essential to the proper administration of its corporate affairs. Ang pinag-uusapan dito, attorney, is only act of administration because they are agents per se. Hindi kagaya ng AACs ninyo, they are performing acts of dominion. Dito tayo nagkakaroon ng problema. That is why even your OGCC cannot explain why he was unable to explain that Section 4 of your RIRR. Maliwanag po doon nang nagbigay buhay sa inyo ng mga AACs is not your own charter but the RIRR. But the IRRR was not a valid delegation because it was not provided in the charter. Kaya nga sinasabi natin noon, ultra vires ito, walang legal basis yung RIRR ninyo because you cannot do it dahil wala sa charter ninyo. So if we can prove to you na mali yung IRRR at mali yung opinion ng OGCC, papayag ka naman ma'am na i-terminate natin ang mga AACs, di ba? Kasi pinangako mo na sa akin kanina, di ba?
Mr. Chair, we will follow whatever is correct, Mr. Chair, legally correct.
This is notwithstanding the conclusion of the OGCC, right?
Of course, Mr. Chair. So we will consider.
So
everything,
with
Mr. Chair.
with that statement, Mr. Chair, that the General Manager of Pcso is willing to consider the wisdom of this committee in pointing out the fact that the RIRR is not a valid delegation to the extent that it did not come from the original mandate of your charter. Pcso is willing to reconsider, Mr. Chair. And I think we can proceed from that.
Yeah. Can I? Of course, Mr. Chair, with due respect, of course, dun po sa mga offices na dinaanan din po ng nag-review, we will also consider all their opinions. But anyway, there's nothing permanent in this world. May nakakamali, posible, but we will consider everything. I got your point, Mr. Chair, and it's a valid
At maaari
reason to
kasing
study it.
magkamali rin kahit sino sa atin.
Everything is possible and we will consider it, Mr. Chair, basta mapabuti lang po yung operation ng STL and ng PCSO.
And I look forward to that kasi tingnan ninyo, ang sentimiento lang naman ng LGU, hindi naman niya gustong pakialaman niya. Pero pansinin niyo naman sila.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Ang nangyayari kasi parang iwanan niyo na lang sila ba para namang baliwala ba sila doon? Di sila nga yung sila nga yung mga chief executives doon eh. But hindi nyo gawin yung IRR in a manner that they can help you, not to regulate you. But I think even on the basis of the supervisory power probably, or sabihin na natin mas mababa pa ng konti doon. Kabisado ko naman itong aking kaibigan na ito eh. Mabait naman ito eh. Ang problema, ang nakikita namin kasi, parang akala mo daan-daanan nyo na lamang doon eh. O sinabi ka ng OGCC. Ba't di ba nagkakamali ang OGCC? Nakita mo naman, hindi naman niya pabalik-balik na lang tayo sa ganitong argumento. Pero ikaw, nakikita kita kanina, medyo tumatango-tango ka, mukhang naiintindihan mo ang aking sinasabi, di ba?